Video, we're going to talk about other attributes that you can apply to your type, and we're going to be treating parts of the type. In your step-by-step, you can see there's a section called treating parts of letters. It's on page 7, and this is what we're going to be going through. The first thing you want to do is, first thing I want to talk about is when you are a professional designer, you are customizing the words to communicate on the page. And so whether you have a brand or a logo or a word mark or a billboard, movie title, anything, you're treating the type according to the message. And the shapes of the letters is essential. So what we're doing is we're customizing the type. We're not distorting, we're not experimenting, we are not manipulating, we are customizing. So in this particular one I have in front of me, this says do not judge, and it's one on top of the other. And we've already done something already somewhat in here. And I'm not totally loving this, but it's the first time we're experimenting with it. This particular one here, these are in separate boxes. And I'm going to select all of these, and I'm going to hold down the shift key, and I'm going to make this a little bigger. So I like to stack type, and I like them to be evenly stacked. But the problem with this particular one is that the word judge has a dot on it. So if I bring the word judge down a little bit to apply the dot, it looks bigger. This space looks bigger. So this is where we're customizing the type. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring it a little bit closer. And that's really what I want, because if I want to look at the space between these lines, I'm going to add the rulers. So Command R or Control R will bring your rulers up, and I'm going to drag, do it again. Drag my ruler to this. Let's zoom in a little bit. And then I'm going to drag my ruler to this. And so that's approximate space I want between the letters. So I'm going to drag my ruler down here, and there's the shape, the distance, and I'm going to drag here. So that looks pretty good. So even if I want to see what the sizes are, I can go and make a little tiny box, and here's my box. And it's just so that I can get a gist of the size. And it looks pretty good. Looks like this one should be moved down a little bit more. So I'm going to move this down. I'm going to use my arrow keys on my keyboard and just move it down slightly. Okay, so I don't need that anymore. I have these now evenly spaced. But as you can see, the dot on this J is getting in the way. So what designers do is once they have their live type, then they go in and they stroke or outline the type is the term, or expand the type. So we are going to take each one of these, and we're going to go to type. There is an option in here called create outlines. Let's zoom in so you can see it. Oops. Going to type, create outlines. So now this is no longer live text. I can't edit it anymore. I can't retype it out. Once you create outlines on your text, you can't get the text back. So I'm going to do the same for this one, and I'm going to create outlines, and I'm going to do the same for this one, create outlines. And so now that I've created an outline on this, I have this text and I can edit it. If I click twice on this, it goes to, click twice, it goes to this little mode, and you can see it right here. It's a group mode. Okay? It's called isolated group. It's an isolation mode. And if you notice too, that everything here kind of grayed out and this appears. So this is an isolation, and now I can click on each individual one of these letters. And then I can click twice on this, and I can go in another isolation mode, which this says compound path. There it says compound path. So now that I'm in the compound path, I can select either one of these separately. So I can either bring this down, and I'm doing this with my arrow key, but overall I think I want to get rid of this dot that's on the top of the J because it's still implied. I don't need it. So I'm going to delete it, and then I just click twice somewhere else, and then I'm coming back here. And let me clear my guides so that you can see this a little better. So now what I've done is I've gotten rid of the dot that's on the J, and it's implied. Do not judge. We read this really well. I can still come in here and I can even tweak some of this and bring some of the text closer together. So I click twice on the isolation mode. This is all grouped, so I click twice on it, and then I bring this over. If you want to move something faster, you can use your arrow keys, but you can also hold down the shift key and it'll move it in a larger increment. Click away. So this still is grouped together, but I have managed to edit it in the isolation mode. Click twice and I'm in the isolation mode. And this helps you apply a type treatment. You may want some kind of, image right here or some kind of shape right here, but this helps so that everything is aligned. Now, let's just say you want to even go a little further and you want this to be on top of here, and that D is actually it's called a ascender, which is at the top, and it's really a distraction. You can also bring the D down, but I think it would be a little bit harder to recognize if the D was brought down, but we'll do another one. So this is how you start to edit. You can get rid of things. Let's try another one. So let's zoom out, see if I can see another one we can play around with. Okay, here's one that we can change. If I look, this one says do not, and the D goes off the page, and the not is underneath. So I'm going to bring it a little closer, and it kind of aligns with this D. But this D is getting a little bit stuck in here. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to outline this text right here. Go to Type, Create Outlines, right? Click twice to go into isolation mode. And now that I'm just in the D, so I click twice again to get into the D, I can now change this D. I can make this D a little bit shorter. How I make this D a little bit shorter is different than any other way that you would do it. And that is using this tool here, which is called the Direct Selection tool. The Direct Selection tool allows you to select points. These have 2 points right here. So I'm going to go to the Direct Selection tool, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to click on that point. There's that point right there. I'm going to hold down the shift key, and I'm going to click on that point. Now I have these 2 points selected. So you could see these 2 points are selected. These points down here are not selected because they're white or they're hollow. These 2 points are selected. So let's zoom out a little bit. Now that I have these 2 points selected, I can use my arrow keys on my keyboard, and I can bring this D down and make it a little bit shorter so it's not so distracting. So let's zoom out so you can take a look. And then I'm going to click somewhere else. I'm going to go to my selection tool, and move this up a little bit. I'm still not loving this. Of course, we're having this issue where the same issue we were having down here where the D doesn't work too well. Let's try something else. Let's bring the text closer together. Click twice on them. I'm going to bring this closer. I'm going to hold down the shift key, click on both of these and bring both of them closer. Hold down the shift, bring these ones closer. Bring this closer. So now these are pretty tight. And now I'm going to hold down the shift key and I'm going to make this a little smaller. Maybe I could do that where I kind of tuck it under there. So that's an option. Let's try something else. Let's take the whole entire group and let's make this smaller. So now I can go over here and align that D and that N all up together. And so do not judge. And these things right here align with each other. And I might have to move them over slightly. So that's pretty cool. I can even kind of overlap them a little bit. So I'm going to outline this type, create outlines, type, create outline, outline this one, type, create outline, and I'm going to select the two here, and I'm going to make this go behind there. And I'm going to make this one go behind there. Oh, it's in front, so we're going to have to bring that to send that to the back. So we're going to go right click, arrange, send to back. So now that's on top of each other. It needs to be adjusted slightly. There. So there is a little bit of, yeah, overlap, but zoom in. There we go. There we go. So now that lines up. So now I have all these lined up with each other. And this one here, I can then go and select the D and I can move that all the way up. So now it's all the way up there. And the same with the J here. I'm going to select the J down here and I'm going to bring this all the way down. And also, I think the I should be a little bit closer. So I'm going to click twice on this word judge, 1, 2, then click twice on the I, and then bring this down just a little. And I'm going to change the color to something else. So I'm going to go to appearance and I'm going to change this color to the purple. Okay, so it's all grouped still, so I can't do a single color with that. If I did want to do that, I'd have to what's called release compound path, and that would be under object, compound path, release. So let's try this again. Object, compound path, release, and now I can change this to a different color. This is supposed to be that blue. There we go. Oh, maybe it was another color. There. And now I have the little dot that's there, which is kind of cool. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to show you is how you can round out the corners of your text. So I like this typeface right here. Zoom over. And this is Euro style. But I want to round out the text. I think this would look really kind of cool and something interesting. Round out the edge of the words. So this is an option you can do. What you would do is you would outline all of these text, these lines of text. So we're going to go to create outlines, create outline. And I'm going to ungroup all of these. So I'm going to select all of these, and I'm going to say under object, I'm going to say ungroup. Okay, so now that I'm all ungrouped, if I select all of these and I go to my direct selection tool, you notice there's a lot of little points that are in here. So I can actually start distorting, I shouldn't say distort, rounding out the edges of the text. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to deselect because I actually made a mistake. I just want to do each individual letter. So let's zoom into this letter. And I go to my direct selection tool, and I'm only going to click on a corner here. So I'm going to click on this corner, and I'm going to drag this little tiny dot, and I'm going to round out just that corner. So I just changed it slightly. I didn't change everything. If you do it on the whole entire letter, it does the whole thing like this, and I don't really want that. I want to just slightly customize it. So I'm going to click on the point that I want, and then I'm just going to drag it like that. So that changed it slightly. I'm going to do this to the N over here as well. So I'm going to grab the corner here, and I'm going to click on that. Slightly change that. Let's not so much, just a little. So it looks similar to that. This one, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to click on the point. I'm using the direct selection tool, and I'm going to click on the point, and I'm going to grab this just so that I could do that, and grab that point and do that. Now that changes it. I think I'll leave this straight because it's a pretty common straight edge, but I do think it's a little bit long. So I'm going to select this and bring it in a little bit. I'm customizing it. So the same here. Here I have the word judge, and the dot on the J is square. And I really actually want that to be more round. So I'm actually going to do all 4 corners as opposed to just 1 corner at a time, like I just showed you up here. So now that all 4 corners are selected, I'm just going to click on this, and then I'm going to make it more round. And if you notice, it actually affected the lower part. So let's undo. We need to just be in this section only. So let's click twice. There we go. And then we do that. And it doesn't affect this one. And now we go to this one, click twice. We have to do that in the selection tool. Click twice. Go over here, and we're going to change that one. Oops. We only want 1 corner. I'm not too sure. Maybe the other side. Oh, that's cool. And then I probably want to bring this one down a little. Yeah, closer. So we're going to do this the same for this one. Let's see. What do we do on the end to keep it consistent? It would be this one. It affected the whole thing, didn't it? So we just want the point. It's affecting everything here, so we're going to do this side then. It's still doing everything. Look at that. There we go. That's kind of cool. All right, and then we're customizing them all. Do we have other ones that we did? We did the D like that, so we could do the same. Okay, so now when we look at this, this has been slightly customized. It's not the same exact it is the typeface, but it's been kind of a rebrand, and I can actually bring it down a little bit. Bring all of this down a little bit. And that works really well. Bring this over a little bit more so it lines up. I like to have everything lined up, even though this part of the J is sticking out, your eye lines up with all of these strokes coming down. And I think this could probably come down a little bit more. Yeah. So we could probably bring the D down a little bit. We can also bring these closer. So let's bring this one closer. Hold down the Shift key. Bring this one closer. Oops. Bring that one a little closer. Yeah, and that actually works a little bit better. Okay, good. Save. Command S. So I want to show you what it looked like before and what it is now. So I'm going to paste this. I had copied it in front of you so you could see. So this is what it is just in Eurostyle, and this is Eurostyle customized. And you can see how much more different and more unique it is when you customize your type. And I was just doing simple little things for customizing. Now the other thing that you can do with customizing is you can also change counters. The shapes that are inside of closed typefaces or words or letters is called a counter. And so this counter right here can be changed. The color of it can be changed. So if I wanted to now say I want to put a different kind of circle or shape inside of this counter, I would click on this and I would click on it twice, and here there is another shape inside of it, but this has what's called a compound path. So I can move this if I wanted to, but I can't change the color. What this does here is it's actually still making it slightly transparent. So if you notice, you see it's transparent there. So that's actually kind of cool. So I can actually manipulate. Click twice, and then I can manipulate this to be, it's kind of very retro or funky there. So I've really changed the typeface a lot. But let's just say I even want to take away the counter and I just want it to be, I don't know, another color, or I want it to be another shape. If I go to the counter or the letter, I go under Object and I say go to Compound Path, Make. And under Object Compound Path, oops, it was Release. Sorry. Object Compound Path, Release. And once I say Release, this shape now is separate from the other shape. So it's no longer a transparent option. So now I can even change the color of it. So I know that I'm using my swatches. That's one of the colors. So this is kind of cool because you can change the color. You can move it around if you want. You can also change the size of it. You can add other ones in here. So I can copy this, paste it, and if I wanted to kind of make it feel a little retro, there we go. Copy. Paste. Copy. I'm going to Command C, Command V. It's the same thing as going copy and paste. And I have all the little colors in there. So this is a way to kind of create things or change things. Now let's show one more. So I'm going to come over here to this D, and I'm actually going to put something else in this D. So I select the D, I go to Object. Now if I'm selecting the whole group, if you haven't ungrouped this, because a lot of times this is all grouped together, I'll just show. Then you select all of them. You can click twice on the D that's in there, even though it's in the group. And it even shows the group here. And then you could still go into Object, compound path release. It releases it, and then you could just get rid of this altogether. Excuse me. And you can even make your own shape if you wanted to. There are different shapes in here. There's a star, there's a polygon shape. If you are familiar with doing Illustrator, you can add some other type of shape. But I'm going to grab the star, and I'm actually going to put a star in here. That's pretty good. I'm going to grab one of the colors. Let's make that smaller. And now I'm actually going to, because it's very pointy, I'm going to make it more rounded. So there it's more rounded. And if I want to rotate it, I can rotate it. If I want to keep it straight like that. Right? I can copy and paste if I want to put another one in there. Okay. And if I want this to be transparent and this just to be an added feature, I can do that as well. I can make a compound path by holding down the Shift key and clicking on each one of these and going to Object, Make Compound Path. And now it's transparent. This one isn't. This one is a separate little piece, but you can make ones that have compound paths already. And so what this does is this actually, let's get rid of this. This actually becomes transparent. So if I grab all of this and I move this around, if I bring it, say, down here, right, you would see it's transparent because it's a compound path. But I'm going to bring it out here. So this is when you just type out the text out plain, and this is when you type the text out, and then you outline the text and you slightly change certain parts of the letters. You don't go too drastic, but just subtlety, and then it customizes. So lastly, with customizing, one of the common things that you would see is like you change the A and the H. So I don't have that in these layouts here, but I'm just going to do it over on the side here. So if I had an A and I have an H and you have a certain word here, oops, hold down the Shift key. You can create outlines, and then you can click twice on the letter that you want to do it in. There it is. And then you can change this, go up a little bit, right? Bring this in a little, bring this in a little. Bring this up a little bit and in. You can even do things like this, which is kind of interesting. And so you might not see a difference in this, but anytime you have letters, you can bring them a little bit closer. Like this one, I can select just these, and I make this text a little narrower. I can even suggest that I select this H and bring it down a little bit lower just to do something different. And so that's customizing the text. Let's see, another one could be a vertical stroke. So here you could see here, you could make vertical strokes like the B, the D, the F, the H, the K, and the I shorter, which are those lines that are above. You can make the vertical strokes on the Y's, the P, the J, and we've already gone through that. So that's important that you know. Command Option 0, so you can see we just kind of played around with and slightly changed this one, this one. We also changed letters, and we did some drastic changes on this one. Okay.